Hi guys, welcome back to the Storm Cellar. Before we get into the subject of Ukraine and Russia and what's going on there, I'd like to give you just a little bit of background that I have. I've got a master's degree in international relations with a area of Russian studies. I have a master's degree in strategic studies. I spent 4 years in NATO, and I spent some time in Russia in 1997. So I'll do another video on the air order of battle for both Russia and Ukraine in a later video, which I think will be very interesting. People are wondering about what's going on between Russia and the Ukraine and why. First, I believe it's important to know about and understand Vladimir Putin himself. He was born into a poor family in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, in 1952. He was a very intelligent student. He went to a very prestigious school and then later graduated from law school at Leningrad University, and then joined the KGB in 1975 and formally retired in 1991, but I think he has tentacles all the way back to that organization even now. Some think he was personally recruited by Yuri Andropov, chairman of the KGB at the time, and was assigned to Dresden, Germany until the Berlin Wall came down, and at that time he returned back to Moscow. You see a lot of photographs of him, and he's, shirt off and doing athletic stuff and everything. Well, he is pretty much an athlete. He's got a black belt in judo. Also a fairly intelligent guy. He's fluent in German. And he married a flight attendant years ago. The marriage lasted about 20 years, and they had 2 daughters. Believe it or not, he was, especially to his daughters, he doted on them quite a bit. His real rise to power came in 1997 as deputy chief of staff for Boris Yeltsin, and later was promoted to prime minister. In 1999, Putin was named acting president and then on to be president for 4 terms. A few years ago, he had legislation that basically allows him to run the country forever. As I was mentioned a while ago about the KGB, Putin basically transformed the current FSB back into the KGB, which is basically, again, a secret police. My opinion is that his leadership style is very dominant and controlling. Is ambitious and self-serving. And like most Russians, I believe he's paranoid. That part KGB and part just being Russian. This brings us to his desire to control Ukraine. Ukraine is considered as not only the breadbasket of Europe, but also has a lot of natural resources, which I'm sure he wouldn't mind getting his hands on. Also, there was no written agreement between NATO that they wouldn't expand east, and the Russians have been very worried of recent former Soviet republic countries joining NATO, such as Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Also, the prior Soviet bloc countries, such as Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia, all joined NATO. So that makes seven countries right there. During the Soviet Empire, they enjoyed a huge buffer between them and NATO nations, and that's quickly shrinking. As I said before, the Russians are a very distrustful people. They've been invaded and subjugated for over 1,000 years. The Mongols under Genghis Khan conquered Russia. The French under Napoleon conquered Russia. The Tsars subjugated them for almost 400 years. Then the iron fist of the 1917 Communist Revolution really called the Great Purge, and millions and millions of Russians were killed under that. And believe it or not, democracy and the corruption in the government now, they're not faring very well under that either. When I was there, I saw that middle-aged people and the elderly were not adapting very well to free market societies and democracy at all, because they were used to having the government provide them with all of their basic needs. So they really didn't understand what free market meant. So I believe Putin is a ruthless thug. I mean, he really is, who's still living in the glory days of communism and would nothing more than to restore his old world order. Not to mention that he's also mega rich. He's a mega rich oligarch. It's estimated he's got about $200 billion, and that allows him to be able to will power from the one world order. So what is NATO supposed to do? Some are saying no-fly zones. I honestly don't believe folks understand what that could mean. A no-fly zone means that you shoot down anything that comes in there. If NATO was to actually enforce that no-fly zone and shoot down a Russian aircraft, or 2 or 3 or whatever, it could mean World War III, which I don't believe Europe or the United States has the stomach for. So I'm going to leave you with this. My recommendation is to defend the existing NATO members by forward staging minimum NATO forces, provide arms and supplies to Ukraine, which I think they're doing, and utilize the West's most valuable option, economic sanctions. Could Russia create alliances with China, Iran, North Korea, and others? Yeah, but the U.S. and NATO has allowed this to get out of control, and our only option now is to stop the bleeding and hope the infection doesn't spread. So we're going to leave it there. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Also, click the bell to be notified of any other videos. And most importantly, subscribe to my channel. So if you have any comments, leave them in the comments section down below. And remember, always make sure your takeoff and landing's equal. So until next time, hope you all have a good one.